Dr. Plotkin, I'm going to hand you what's been labeled Plaintiff's Exhibit 10. Sent it? Okay. This is the product, the manufacturer insert for Recombavax HB, correct?
Yes.
And the clinical trial experience would be found in Section 6.1, correct? Correct? Dr. Plotkin?
Yes.
Okay. In Section 6.1, when you look at the clinical trials that were done pre-licensure for Recombavax HB, how long does it say that safety was monitored after each dose?
Let's see. Uh, 5 days.
Okay. Is 5 days long enough to detect adverse reactions that occur after 5 days?
No, they would be reported separately as observed in the clinic.
In Section 6.1 of the manufacturer insert, which under the Code of Federal Regulations they're supposed to describe the clinical trial, does it provide for anything other than 5 days of monitoring after each dose for adverse events?
It does not specifically say that, no.
Okay. Is 5 days long enough to detect an autoimmune issue that arises after 5 days?
No.
Is 5 days long enough to detect a seizure that arises after 5 days? Okay.
Would be unlikely to have a seizure occur after 5 days.
Is 5 days long enough to detect any neurological disorder that arose from the vaccine after 5 days?
No.
Okay. Was there any control group in this trial? Let me rephrase that. There is no control group, correct?
Not. Let's see. Well, they mention 3,258 doses were administered to 1,252 healthy adults.
That's right. But does it mention any control group, Dr. Plotkin?
It does not mention any control group, no.
No. If you turn to Section 6.2, what is the list of adverse reactions listed in this section?
These are reports of adverse reactions that likely were reported to the VAERS system.
Under immune system disorders, does it say that there were reports of hypersensitive reactions, including anaphylactoid reactions, bronchospasms, and urticaria having been reported within the first few hours after vaccination?
Yes.
Have there been reports of hypersensitivity syndrome?
Yes, that's what it states.
Reports of arthritis?
It is mentioned.
Okay. It also reports autoimmune diseases, including systemic lupus, erythematosus, lupus-like syndrome, vasculitis, and polyarteritis nodosa as well, correct?
Yes, that's what it states.
And also it states that under the nervous system disorders, it states that after there have been reports of Guillain-Barré syndrome, correct?
Yes.
As well as multiple sclerosis, exacerbation of multiple sclerosis, myelitis, including transverse myelitis, seizure, febrile seizure, peripheral neuropathy, including Bell's palsy, radiculopathy. Thank you very much. Muscle weakness, hypothesia, and encephalitis, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now,
before you go on, these reports are required to be included because they have been reported to the authorities as happening after vaccination. That is not proof that the vaccine caused those reactions, because things happen to people all the time, whether or not they've been vaccinated. And as I said, the company is required to report these. Now, I mention that specifically because multiple sclerosis, for example, is mentioned here, been studied in relation to hepatitis B vaccine, and there's no relationship, no causal relationship. So the fact that these things are in the package circular does not mean that the vaccine necessarily caused the stated phenomenon.
When you say that multiple sclerosis has been studied and is determined to not have been caused, you're talking about the 2011 IOM report, I assume?
I'm talking about studies mostly done in France, where the situation arose where there was a concern about that.
You're aware of the 2011 IOM report that looked at certain vaccines in relation to whether they can cause certain adverse reactions?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that one of the conditions they looked at was multiple sclerosis?
Among others, yes.
Among others, and that they specifically looked at it with regards to hepatitis B?
Yes.
And do you know what their finding was?
I don't remember the exact wording, no.
Yeah. Maybe this will remind you. Inadequate to accept or reject a causal relationship. They didn't know, correct?
Yes, but you have to understand, first of all, that science continues, and so studies continue. And secondly, that the IOM specifically decided that they would not draw a conclusion if they weren't sure of the conclusion. So what that statement means is that they don't have data that confirm that multiple sclerosis is caused by the hepatitis B vaccine, but that they don't regard that they have enough data to positively exclude it. So you cannot read that as saying that multiple sclerosis is caused by hepatitis B vaccine.
I never said that. The IOM did, for some of the vaccines and adverse reactions, did conclude that it favors rejection of a causal relationship, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
It didn't reach that conclusion for hepatitis B and multiple sclerosis, correct?
It did not reach that conclusion, okay. But other data suggests that conclusion is warranted, that there is no relationship.
Okay. Well, I'll make a demand for that. You can produce that after this deposition. So what would need to be done in order to know whether or not any of these reported conditions are caused by the vaccine? What you would need is a properly randomized, as you said earlier, placebo-controlled study, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And also, I would point out that multiple sclerosis is a disorder of adults, and the issue that arose in France was related to vaccination of adults.
Okay.
That does not mean that it would be an issue, even if it were an issue, for children.
Dr. Plotkin, I was just asking what it says on there. There's lots of conditions listed. I'm not saying that multiple sclerosis is caused by this. I'm just asking if it's listed on section 6.2. In fact, we can even read the top of section 6.2, which says the following additional adverse reactions have been reported with the use of the marketed vaccine. Because these reactions are reported voluntarily from a population of uncertain size, it is not possible to reliably estimate their frequency or establish a causal relationship to a vaccine exposure, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that's what it says right at the top of 6.2. Okay, but these are events that are reported after vaccination, and as we've just discussed, in order to establish whether it's causal between the vaccine and the condition, you need a randomized, placebo-controlled study. But
Yes.
that was not done for this hepatitis B vaccine before licensure, was it?
No.
Okay. Okay. And given that the vaccine now appears on the CDC's recommended list, isn't it true that it would now be considered unethical to conduct such a study today?
It would be, yes, it would be ethically difficult.
Okay. So let's take a look at Engerex B. That's the other hepatitis B vaccine that you're testified you recommend Faith received. Do you know how long adverse reactions were reviewed after each dose of that vaccine in the pre-licensure clinical trial?
Not offhand, no.
I'm going to hand you what has been marked Plaintiff's Exhibit 11. This is the manufacturer insert for the Engerex B, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you turn to section 6.1, which is clinical trials experience, can you please tell me how long the safety review period was in the pre-licensure clinical trials after each dose?
All subjects were monitored for 4 days post-administration. That does not necessarily mean that they didn't collect reactions after 4 days.
Are you claiming they collected reactions after 4 days but didn't disclose it here in violation of the Code of Federal Regulations?
I dare say that they collected putative reactions for a longer period. I feel quite positive about that. When they say they were monitored for 4 days, that means active monitoring as opposed to collecting reports later on.
Uh-huh.
That is not uncommon in clinical trials.
Mm-hmm. Is 4 days long enough to detect an autoimmune issue that arises after 4 days?
No.
Or a neurological disorder that arises after 4 days?
No,
Okay.
that would be reported later.
Uh-huh. And can you provide any proof that there was any reports or follow-up after those 4 days?
Well, it doesn't say that here, but I am willing to bet that they did collect reactions after 4 days. And I imagine that the FDA would not have allowed them not to do that.
But as you sit here today, that's just speculation, correct?
Yes, that's speculation based on experience.
I'm going to make a request for you to provide proof of what you're claiming, that there was actually for both hepatitis B vaccines any safety review that occurred after 4 days of administration of any dose of these vaccines.
Well,
Again, I'm going to continue the objection, I guess, from last time since we took a longer break. There's a proper procedure to request documents and discovery. He doesn't have to come back and produce it.
The objection's noted. Thank you. Okay. So And there was no placebo group, correct? In the 13,000, in the trial at the top where it talks about 13,000 doses being administered.
It does not say that there was a control group. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the study.
And do you believe, so you think but you're just speculating that there might have been a control group?
There well might have been. It is not unusual for controls to be included, especially if you're looking at reactions. But I don't know specifically for this study.
All right. Well, if you're claiming there might have been a control group, then please do provide support for that, because as far as I understand, the manufacturer, and this was, who makes Engerix-B? Glaxo?
Glaxo.
One of your clients. If there was a control group, they needed to have disclosed that. And I assume they're not disclosing it because there was none.
Well,
Doc, go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Doctor.
all right. Go ahead.
All right.
Ms. Newsome, are you still there?
Yeah, my headset died, but I called back in, so I don't think I missed much. We're still going over the inserts.
So let's go back to section 6.2 on this manufacturer insert for Engerix-B. It talks about the post-marketing experience for this vaccine. This one lists for immune system disorders that were reported, a whole number of them, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And it also lists a number of nervous system disorders, including encephalitis, encephalopathy, migraine, multiple sclerosis, neuritis, neuropathy, paresthesia. I'll ask the question all the way at the end. Guillain-Barré syndrome, Bell's palsy, optic neuritis, paralysis, paresis, seizures, syncope, and transverse myelitis. Correct? It lists all of those?
Yes.
Okay. But to know whether or not these are actually caused by Engerix-B, again, you would need a properly randomized placebo-controlled study, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. But this study wasn't done pre-licensure for this vaccine, right?
I'd have to go back and look at the original studies, but these data undoubtedly refer not only to the study that was done before licensure, but also to phenomena reported after licensure.
That's 6.2, right? Okay, and again, given that this vaccine now appears on the CDC's recommended list, it would be unethical to do a randomized placebo-controlled study of this vaccine, right?
In children, it would be unethical. It could be done in adults.
Oh. Okay. Now, if you could please go to page 11 of this same manufacturer insert for the hepatitis B. If you take a look over there, I think you'll find that it provides that there was a follow-up with regard to efficacy, not safety, efficacy, that was beyond the 4 days.
Yes.
Do you see there that there was a 12-month and an 18-month follow-up?
Yes.
Okay. So just to be clear, efficacy of the vaccine was followed up for at least 12 months, for 18 months, but safety was only done for 4 or 5 days.
I do not agree with that statement.
Okay.
I do believe that GSK, like any other company, would have followed their patients much longer than 4 days and would have collected reaction data.
And if they didn't do that, you would agree that that is completely inadequate in terms of assessing safety pre-licensure?
I would say that would be inadequate, yes.
do you agree with the CDC's recommendation that babies receive a hepatitis B on the first day of life?
Yes.
And these are the Engerix B and Recombavax HB are the only two hepatitis B vaccines approved for one-day-old babies, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And why is
And
that, you may ask? It is because if the baby is not vaccinated, well, I'm telling you that if a baby is not vaccinated at 1 day of age, transmission may occur from an infected mother, and hepatitis B occurring in babies is likely to become chronic and to cause serious disease later in life. Okay. That's why the dose is given at 1 day of age.
I wasn't asking you any questions about efficacy or
but
why
I'm telling
it's done.
you why it's given.
Well, thank you, but obviously I'm just trying, like any product, obviously you want to have informed consent, understand the risks and the benefits, and I'm just trying to understand what was done pre-licensure for these vaccines, and I think you've explained that to me. One of the things you've said in the past, and I believe, is that without a control group in a clinical trial, you're in la-la land, right? You said that one time, do you recall?
Without a control group, if you're looking for a phenomenon occurring in the vaccine group, you cannot judge that phenomenon without having a control group.
Okay. There's only one standalone polio vaccine currently licensed in the United States, correct?
Well, as far as licensure, I think both oral and inactivated vaccines are licensed, but the only one that is used in the U.S. currently is the inactivated one.
IPV.
Yes.
Right. And there's only one Sanofi. There's only one IPOL by Sanofi. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. A vaccine, you strike that. How long was the safety review for each dose of IPOL in the preclinical trials for that vaccine?
I do not know offhand, but Counselor, IPV has been used throughout the world for years in millions of people, and safety data have been collected on many such studies, and essentially serious reactions to IPV are extremely rare. So IPV is a very safe vaccine.
I'm asking you in the pre-licensure clinical trial for...
That goes back to Jonas Salk,
Okay.
where millions of children actually were vaccinated with IPV back in the 50s.
And is there clinical trial data on safety?
Yes.
Okay, and is that the same vaccine that's used today?
Yes.
Are you prepared to produce that clinical data? Yeah.
Those data are in this book, and I'll be glad to provide you with the references if you really insist. But IPV, as I've said, has been used in millions and millions of people.
If it's so safe, then how come the safety review period for the pre-licensure clinical trial as provided in the manufacturer insert for IPOL only reviewed safety for 48 hours?
Once again, I have no doubt that safety observations were made after 48 hours, but they expected that immediate reactions such as a sore arm or fainting or something like that would have happened within 48 hours. And also, I'm sure that they're talking about their own specific production of IPV and not relying on the millions of other people who have been vaccinated with IPV.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 12. This is the manufacturer insert for the IPOL, poliovirus vaccine inactivated. If you could please turn
to section
6.1. Dr. Plotkin? Well, this is an older one. If you could turn to the adverse reactions, which is on page 12.
And just
14.
flipping page, just preserves the objection. To my understanding, Dr. Plotkin had no role in the study design. You're asking him to speculate as to the reasoning of other people that he had no contact with.
Okay. He's testifying that my client should receive this vaccine. I could certainly ask him about the pre-licensure clinical trials that were done to assess its safety. And you put him up as an expert in vaccinology. But your objection is noted and preserved for the record. Thank you, Counselor. Okay, so if you go to page 14, Dr. Plotkin, how long does it say that that adverse reactions were observed after vaccination?
48 hours.
Okay. And did the subject group that received IPV only receive IPV, or did they receive another vaccine along with it?
Concurrently with DTP.
Uh-huh. And what did the control group receive?
I don't see that stated.
If DTP is given along with IPV, how could you know whether a reaction was caused by DTP or IPV?
You could not.
Okay. If you...
However, they do say these systemic reactions were comparable in frequency and severity to that reported for DTP given alone without IPV.
And DTP was the vaccine we talked about earlier that was withdrawn from the market, correct?
Yes.
For safety issues. Okay. The only MMR vaccine available in the United States are made by Merck, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How long was the safety review? Do you know how long the safety review period for each dose of MMR in the pre-licensure clinical trials for this vaccine?
Sorry, say it again, Councilman.
I'm so sorry.
Some of the words are just...
No problem. Do you know how long the safety review period for each dose of MMR in the pre-licensure clinical trial was for this vaccine?
Not offhand. The vaccine has only been used now for about 50 years.
Okay. Dr. Plotkin, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 13. This is the manufacturer insert for MMR2, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you go to the precaution section, I'm sorry, the adverse reaction section, I apologize, on page 6. What you'll find is that there was no clinical trial prior to licensure for MMR, correct?
I doubt very much that's the case.
You're not aware that are you aware that it is a grandfathered product?
I am not aware that it's grandfathered. I was alive and well when the product was first licensed, and it was tested extensively before it was licensed. So to say that it hasn't been tested is absolute nonsense.
How come there is no clinical trial data in the manufacturer insert?
That is something that the FDA would have decided isn't necessary.
Are you willing
But
to
we're talking about a vaccine that's been given to millions of children, and I insist on this point, that measles is now a relatively rare disease in the United States because most children receive measles MMR vaccine. That, however, in the since 2000, because of children who have not been vaccinated, there have been 5 cases of measles I'm sorry, 24 cases of measles encephalitis and 3 deaths caused by measles itself.
Dr. Plotkin, we'll get to that piece of this,
Yeah.
But right now I'm trying to talk to you about the pre-licensure clinical safety.
And what I'm telling you is that millions of doses have been used of this vaccine.
I understand you want
and
to
that
jump to
there
the
was
end.
pre-licensure trials,
Okay.
which I am absolutely confident about.
Okay.
And you're talking about stuff that's in a package circular that the FDA has approved in full knowledge that safety and efficacy have been demonstrated.
So you're saying there were clinical trials before the MMR was licensed? Is that
Absolutely.
correct? Okay, and you can provide those?
You can find them in this book if you wish.
So you're saying you won't provide them?
Well, yes, I guess I am saying I won't provide them. If you want to take the trouble to read the book.
Okay, so sitting here today, when did these, can you tell me what year these clinical trials occurred?
Yes, they were done in the 1960s and mainly in the 1960s.
So you're claiming something happened, but you're not willing to provide any proof that it happened?
The proof is in the publications, which you can read.
Okay, can you please turn to the
if you
page
like.
where it's in there? I'd like to note for the record that Dr. Plotkin has been reading from his notes as well as looking through a book entitled Plotkin Vaccines, 7th edition.
So on pages, let's see. Between pages 592 and 600, including tables that show the antibody responses, proportion of children with fever and rash after measles vaccine, etc., and the numerous references which go with this chapter.
So are you saying that was a pre-licensure clinical trial?
Yes.
That you just read from?
Yes, but again, I insist that pre-licensure or post-licensure, the fact remains that the vaccine has been studied extensively over a period of 50 years.
I know, I understand you want us to just take your word for it, but I prefer to rely on science, peer-reviewed publications.
That's
and
what you'll
clinical
find
trials.
in there.
And so, I understand
Yeah.
that you're getting a little upset about me trying to ask for the data, but I'm just trying to get to the substance. The FDA it requires that clinical trials be on the insert. They're not here. Okay? So you're saying that this table, and let me take a look at it. This would have been post-licensure, not pre-licensure, and it doesn't indicate a placebo group, nor that it was. So this is not a clinical trial as far as I can tell. Can you point me to something that had a placebo group and was pre-licensure, please, sir?